welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something kind of unusual, I guess you could say. It's beautiful and personal, but then it takes this turn, this unexpected turn into something much bigger.
Yeah, for sure. It's like we've got these two poems, right? And and they're about dealing with losing a dog. Like how to think about that.
Yeah, exactly. And the author, there's some notes from the author too, and they're all about how light pollution, like all that artificial light, how it plays into all this. It's a weird connection at first, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something you think about right away. Like, oh, I lost my dog and now there's too much light at night.
Right. But it gets pretty deep, pretty fast. So we've got the first poem from way back in December 2012, and then the second one almost a decade later, December 2021.
Makes you wonder what happened in between, you know. And then to make it even more interesting, we have the author's own thoughts about both poems written just last month, March 2025. Gives us like a timeline of how this all came together.
Exactly. So what are we doing today? First, we want to really get into that first poem, Where is My Puppy Tonight? And how it deals with loss, It's emotional stuff.
Heavy stuff, yeah, but done in a really cool way.
For sure. And then the second thing, we got to see how the author connects this really personal experience to light pollution. Like, how does that even work? That's what that second poem and these notes are all about.
Okay, so let's start with that first poem, Where is My Puppy Tonight? December 2012. What gets me right away is how it flips the script on grief. It doesn't just dwell on the sadness. It gives you this picture, this really vivid picture of all these dogs just like hanging out in the stars.
Yeah. And what's so cool is the imagery the author uses.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, dogs are in heaven now. It's way more specific, way more active. It makes you like actually see it.
Yeah, totally. Like right off the bat, dancing across the stars, joyful and
Yeah.
free. It's like
Oh.
instant good vibes, even though it's about loss. Yeah, and then it gets even bigger, like cosmically bigger. It says they're surfing the Milky Way galaxy through galaxy. I mean, come on, that's just awesome imagery, right?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. It's like they're not just gone, they're on this epic adventure. But then, what really makes it for me? It's those little details, the way the author brings in actual parts of the night sky. Like when they say, turning the heavens upside down, Cassiopeia now upturned into an M. You know Cassiopeia, right? That W-shaped constellation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Everyone's seen that.
Right. So like imagining these dogs just messing around with it, flipping it into an M, that's hilarious and cute.
It is. It's like they're still got that puppy energy, you know? They're
Yeah.
up there causing a ruckus.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's this line, oh, it's so sweet. Lapping from the dippers, drops splashing all around. And then, get this, those drops, they become fresh dew each morn or the gentle rain falling down. It's like, even though they're not here, like physically, they're still part of the world?
Yeah, you feel that, right? Like they're still connected to you somehow. It's a nice thought. And the poem keeps going with that. Like they're pulling Orion's belt and Orion with his sword held high, chasing you around. It's so much action. It's awesome.
Oh, it's a party up there. And then they're racing the moon across the sky, catching it each month with delight. And that leads into like this whole explanation for the phases of the moon, like why it changes shape.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool part. Like the new moon means a new chase and they chew on the old moon until it's gone. It's so creative, you know? It's like makes you look at the moon totally different.
Yeah, for sure. But then, that last line, it gets you right in the feels. Will you perhaps bring me another puppy when it is light? I mean, it's about hope, right? It's about love continuing even after loss.
Hit you right there, yeah. And you can't forget that dedication at the end either, penned with much love for all those friends who so dear have left us here. It's like the author saying, hey, this is for anyone who's ever lost a dog, you know? It's meant to be comforting.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a big hug in poem form. Okay, so now, fast forward to March 2025. The author writes these notes reflecting on both poems. And this is where the light pollution thing really comes in, right?
Yeah, totally. In the notes, the author's like, hey, remember that first poem, all those dogs playing in the dark sky? Well, that connects directly to what I'm worried about in the second poem, which is, you guessed it, light pollution.
Right, right. And the author's saying that first poem, Where is My Puppy Tonight? It was meant to be like a source of comfort. Like, hey, even though your dog is gone, they're still up there, You can see them in the stars.
Yeah, but then the author starts thinking, what if you can't see the stars anymore?
Yeah.
Like, what if all this artificial light is blocking them out? Then how can you find your dog, you know? That's the problem the second poem is all about.
It's a real mind blower, isn't it? You start with this personal way of dealing with grief, and then, bam, you run into this huge environmental problem. And the author even says light pollution affects way more than just this. It messes with all kinds of stuff.
Totally. Okay, so let's jump into that second poem now, the one from December 2021. It's called Starlight, Star Bright. How will I find my puppy tonight? And right away, you feel the mood change, right? It's not as comforting as the first one. It's more, I don't know, anxious.
Oh, yeah, totally. You can feel the worry in it. It starts with that repeated question, starlight, star bright, how will I find my puppy tonight? And then it changes it up a bit. Where did you go tonight? Like, there's the sense of not knowing, you know? It's like the stars are hiding.
Yeah, it's like that connection, that comfort from the first poem. It's fading away. And then the poem goes into this, like, memory of a time when billions of you sparkled overhead each night. And then the author lists all these constellations, Orion and Cassiopeia, Pleiades and the Dippers, big and twinkling and bright. It's like, remember when the sky was amazing?
It's like this bittersweet nostalgia, you
Yeah.
know? And listing these constellations, it's like back then, people knew the night sky, like it was part of their world. But
Yeah.
now, not so much, right?
Yeah, sadly. And then, the poem really lays it out there, plain and simple. It says, the years creeped along, the artificial lights growing strong, till one night you all but disappeared. I mean, that's light pollution in a nutshell, isn't it? Gradual but powerful.
Totally. And it makes you think, like, how long has this been happening? The poem goes on to say the stars shone brightly for billions of years, and that it's only been recently, like since humans started messing with things, that it's become a problem. It even mentions Thomas Edison, you know, the light bulb guy.
Oh yeah, that line, hardly 100 years have passed since Thomas Edison discovered a new glow. It's like, whoa. In the grand scheme of things, this is a really new
A
problem.
very new problem, yeah. And the poem doesn't sugarcoat it either. It talks about how this new light, it casting an eerie glow, obscuring the dark night. Like, it's not just that we can't see the stars, it's that this artificial light is changing the whole feel of night, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of creepy when you think about it. Like, night isn't supposed to be bright, right? It's supposed to be dark. But then, here's the cool part. The poem throws in this little bit of hope. It says, "'Tis not too late to reclaim our lost fate. Gazing up in wonder, with a flick of a switch or a shade drawn near, brings back our precious dark night." It's like, we can do something about it, It's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah, it's like, hey, maybe it's not too late to fix this. But then the poem ends on that same anxious note it started with. Starlight, star bright, don't abandon us this night. How will I ever find my puppy so high in the sky tonight? And the author even mentions like a slightly different version of those lines, but it's the same basic worry, right? Like, what if I can't find my dog in all this light?
It's a powerful way to end it.
Yeah.
It brings you right back to that personal connection. And then those hashtags at the end, hashtag light, hashtag pollution, hashtag death, hashtag dogs. It's like, bam, here are all the big ideas all linked together.
It's so simple, but it really works. Okay, so big picture. What do we take away from all this? For me, that first poem, it's like a masterclass in finding comfort in nature, you know, turning to the stars when things are tough. But then that second poem, it throws this wrench in the works, this light pollution thing. It makes you think, like, what else are we losing because of all this artificial light?
For sure. It's like these poems, they show how connected we are to the world around us, even when we're dealing with really personal stuff like grief. The first poem finds peace in the stars,
Yeah.
right? But then the second one is like, hey, we're messing that up. And it might affect us in ways we don't even realize. It's deeper than just not being able to see the stars. Like, what about animals? What about our own sleep? Light pollution messes with all that.
It's a huge problem. And, you know, the author's worried about losing that connection to the stars, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? It make you wonder, like, as we make everything brighter and brighter, what else are we losing without even knowing it?
Yeah, and what can we do to stop it? Like, what can we do to hold on to the things that matter?
That's the question, isn't it? So much to think about. Thanks for taking the deep dive with us today.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.